This episode is brought to you by Joyous Escape Travel. What if your next vacation helped you come home feeling healthier, more rested, and truly recharged? Joyous Escape Travel is inviting women to step away from the demands of everyday life and join the Reset and Rise Wellness Cruise this January. It's more than a vacation. It's an opportunity to relax, reconnect, and return home feeling refreshed. Learn more and reserve your spot with Joyous Escape Travel today. Welcome to Midlife with Courage, the podcast for women who are ready to stop living by everyone else's expectations and start asking, what do I want now? I'm Kim Benoit, and I created this podcast because I know how easy it is to lose yourself while doing everything right. Let's find our way back together. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Midlife with Courage. I am Kim Benoit, your host. Today, I have a wonderful guest with me. Her name is Jen Gallagher. Welcome to the podcast, Jen.
Hi, nice to be here.
Yeah, Jen is a therapist and a writer and an activist, and we are going to talk today about a fascinating topic. We're going to talk about rage.
Yes.
So, yay. I was pausing for dramatic effect there, I guess.
Yeah.
So you're on a mission to break the silence and shatter the myths about rage. Tell us about that. How did you get started into this?
Yeah, really in my own personal growth journey. And as a therapist, I'm always learning. And I became very ill with autoimmune disease a few years ago, knocked me off my feet. And I really started wondering, is this going to be the rest of my life? That was a miserable thought because I was in a lot of pain and had a hard time, functioning. So I got just determined to do everything that I could do to try to get well. I went the functional medicine route. And in that whole process of working on my physical health, of course, that leads to work on emotional health. And some of what I studied and read about autoimmune disease, it's more prevalent with women, first of all, very pervasively, and how often women who develop autoimmune disease are very kind and generous and giving and people-pleasing. And I looked in the mirror and saw myself and started going, yeah, if I'm going to get well, that's a thing I need to look at for my own sake, right? Like really somebody who prided myself on taking care of everyone else, like a lot of women. And prioritizing other people's needs, forgetting about my own.
Familiar story for all of us, I'm sure. And I wanted to mention that because the information you gave me, it said from the outside, everything was looking great. You were helping all these people. And then bam, you got hit by that autoimmune disease. So
yeah,
typical story, right? Unfortunately.
Really, really, right? I think every woman has their own journey and version of something like that. Yeah. And I started reading and studying. I had my own rageful experiences. I remember driving to the office, and true confessions here. So, there was a light where often people turn left, but it's not a left turn lane. So I tended to get in the right if somebody's in that lane and just kind of go around them. Well, this big truck didn't turn left and he was going kind of slow, and there's another light not far up. So I thought, well, I'm just going to, like I might often do, kind of just speed up a little bit and get around him. Well, he sped up to spite me. So I don't even know what happened to me. So I'm speeding in this little section of road to try to get around, and I'm so furious. And he's not letting me over. And, I get up next to him. I give him the finger. I've never done that in my life. So, I get behind him because that's the way it's going to go. And the first neighborhood I pulled off and tried to calm myself down and thought, I am not okay. So it's been a series of events and journeys and reading to get aware of my own suppressed rage. And that was another step in where I was like, I'm really not taking care of myself. There are things that I need that I'm not paying attention to. Clearly, my nervous system is overwhelmed. So that's been my process. I started reading a book on patriarchy, which got me angry appropriately. Led to another book about women's rage with a lot of really good factual information. And I was like, is kind of this like slow uncovering of this. And then kind of a final little story is I was at a fundraising dinner and we were at a table with a group of couples. And I work with women in midlife. I had already, and we started talking about midlife predictably. And one woman started talking about how rageful she felt, and her husband next to her is nodding his head. And I mean, the whole table fell silent, including me. So I thought about that, and nobody else really said much. And I thought about that later. What was that about? So this kind of like gradual uncovering, and I really got to this place when I read this book, Rage Becomes Her. That's what's going on. And I
Light
just,
bulb went off.
yeah, started digging into it. And it's just been surprising, but really a breakthrough. And I've noticed how silent we are about women's rage. And I've interviewed women across the country now about midlife rage and how pervasive it is and how relieved women have been to talk about it. So it's all been very reinforcing that this is really important to uncover and to learn about and to make okay, right? Like, and find the truth about it. So,
My podcast episode that just came out was about emotions and how they're messengers for us and they're
yeah.
not good or bad. And I think this fits right in with that
Mhm.
because we do feel this rage. Why do you, to me, rage is a extreme almost. Are there signs that we miss until we get to rage? Or is it just, boom, here it is, do you think?
Yeah, I think about rage in midlife because I see rage really is about accumulation
Hmm.
of a lot of things that we have suppressed and overlooked over the years, as well as the hormonal changes that we go through in midlife that really estrogen is a real buffer, has calming effects, including in our brain. And when that starts to diminish, we have a lot of strong emotions that were probably often there, but we were able to smooth them over. That it becomes a lot more difficult and a lot more sudden. And so all of that is really by midlife, we have a lot of accumulation and rage. And I want to normalize that and not minimize
Yeah.
it, like by
Yeah.
talking about anger per se. Anger is obviously a part of it. And it is, I see it as a continuum.
Sure, sure. And one thing too, I think so many times, whatever symptom it is, well, that's just perimenopause, it's just your hormones, implying that, first of all, you can't do anything about it and it's quote unquote normal.
Mhm.
And that, to me, that's not right. What do you think?
Well, I totally agree. It's another way of minimizing, what we're experiencing and having, society minimize that. And when
Right.
what we're going through is really important and really significant on many levels. Yeah.
Right.
So that just allows other people or ourselves to gloss it over like we've generally been glossed over our whole lives.
Yes, we have. And we do it to ourselves too much too as well. I talk about that a lot. You said you talk to women all over the country about that. Are there any stories you can share with us? Anything that pops out to you that you'd like to share with our listeners? Because I'm sure they're having these experiences as well. It might be nice to know they're not alone.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and I can because these women have given me permission to do that.
Sure.
They're not clients, so yeah. One story that really strikes me is a woman who had been feeling not like herself, had been feeling ill and had gone and emotionally not well. I mean, had gone to the extent of even getting neuropsych testing, feeling like she was getting dementia, because our hormones, whew, they really affect, brain fog our thinking. It can be really seismic. And she had been really working on herself, right? Like doing all the supplements and eventually after the neuropsych testing and everything was okay, hormone treatment and exercise and still not feeling better. And something small happened at home with her husband and the kids. And she said, I just completely lost myself. I grabbed a picture of me and my husband. I smashed it on the floor. I was ready to pack up the kids and leave him, like it was that came out of nowhere, and that severe, nothing like that had happened to her before. So that's one story. And as she processed that, and again, that processing part is so important, right? Because we might need to blow up our lives and we might not to, but we need to be able to think it through. She realized, yeah, there are some problems that need to be addressed in my marriage. And she started what I interpreted from her story is that she started being okay with being angry. And then she didn't need to explode anymore. And she has kept that picture with the frame that the glass is cracked or gone. And she
Oh, no.
keeps it. And so I think her husband at one point said, that used to be a nice picture. She's like, it's a good reminder, like for her and for him, like, it's not like everything goes anymore. So she really had this evolution of a process. But, for some women, it can just be very severe. And rage is often a leading symptom, but it's definitely a common symptom that we don't talk about. And it holds a lot of important information. Rarely is it just about like we're going through a hormonal change. It's usually part of it that lets us finally look at some other things in our life that need addressing that we've been, letting go.
When was the last time you took a vacation that was designed to help you truly reset? Joyous Escape Travel is hosting the Reset and Rise Wellness Cruise this January, a 4-night getaway created for women who are ready to step away from the stress of everyday life and focus on themselves. Guests will enjoy beautiful tropical destinations, time to unwind at sea, wellness-inspired experiences, meaningful conversations, and plenty of opportunities to relax, whether that's watching the sunrise from a balcony, enjoying time by the pool, or simply taking a deep breath without a long to-do list waiting. Whether traveling with a friend or coming solo, this experience is designed to help women recharge, connect, and return home feeling renewed. Space is limited and registration closes soon, so now is the perfect time to learn more. Visit Joyous Escape Travel to reserve your spot and discover how travel can be one of the best investments you make in your well-being. Joyous Escape Travel is here to help you plan travel that's as meaningful as it is memorable. So is that what you mean by a leading symptom? It's kind of telling you to dig deeper, like look at this a little bit more.
Two things. One of the women I interviewed is a doctor who specializes in menopause treatment, and she shared with me that rage is actually one of the first symptoms that women often have in their perimenopause journey. So I mean it that way, and also leading in that it leads us. It's a really important source of information that can be difficult to get it from any other emotion or any other, that we might not pick up on from any other symptom or feeling.
Right. To me, you have to deal with it when it's, just to share some days, and it's my poor husband, we'll be sitting in the living room and I would just like to smack him or something.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just, like you said, it's overwhelming and it just all of a sudden, and
Yeah,
okay, I got to deal with this. I have to do something about this. I can't just, squash that down.
exactly. Yeah, when it gets absolutely.
My first instinct is, you can't share that. You can't let him know that, or, you can't let that out because, you'll look terrible or whatever. But you mentioned earlier about processing it. So what does that look like? What would you tell our listeners about that, Jen?
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing is our natural, I don't know if it's instinct or training, right? Like that this is, well, I think about that woman at the dinner. I feel terrible, like what was that like for her? I don't
Right.
know, but so our first inclination, maybe that's the best word, is to say, like, I don't want to share this. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. And that's a common thing I've heard from women who had like angry outbursts or felt like having them, but tried to keep it down, is a sense of shame about it and embarrassment. And I can't talk about it, which, really cheats us of, part of who we are and what that rage is telling us. That's what I love about focusing on this in therapy, is that helping women not be alone in that and be able to process that through and have a safe space where like all your rage is okay to bring here. I'm good with it. Let's talk about it and let's find out what it is for you. The ingredients of that rage is different for every woman and how many are
Sure.
there, untangling that so that they can start to take action where they need to and have the courage to be able to do that as well and the clarity as far as therapy goes. And as far as being able to work on that on your own, definitely talking about it, journaling about it, paying attention to how you feel towards your own anger and towards other women's anger, like not in a shaming way, but just in an awareness way to start to undo some of that, social teaching we've all had and conditioning.
Every week on Midlife with Courage, we share stories that remind us we're not alone. Now, I'd love to take that conversation one step further. It's Not Just You is a 4-week workshop where we'll discover the ways we've learned to shrink ourselves and practice taking up space with courage and confidence. Because listening can inspire us, but practicing creates lasting change. If you're ready for that next step, click the link in the show notes to join the priority list. I hope you'll join me this September.
Sure. I think it's important that we all hear the message that these strong feelings we have aren't bad. If they're these negative, like rage, I see kind of as a negative. So they're not bad. They're telling us something and that we need to deal with. Again, that we've said that before. And going back to your story, I've read that when we keep our emotions in, we don't deal, we don't process, eventually our bodies tell us something's wrong physically. Do you think that happened with you with that autoimmune thing going on?
Definitely, definitely. In fact, I still have autoimmune disease. I'm grateful that it's really well managed right now. It does not affect my life predominantly anymore. It's ever present. I have to be mindful about it. I was in Seattle in the hills, and after day 2, I felt so sick and I didn't know why. And it was my feet were swollen. It was all the walking, but then it makes me feel sick in my whole body. So yeah, definitely it was a role for me. And like uncovering this rage piece and really a piece of that was really valuing myself and asserting myself and not apologizing for doing that and not being okay with making other people around me uncomfortable instead of centering other people's comfort at my own expense. All of that has been later in my journey of healing.
Sure.
And it's been so key and so important. And then what I know about neuroscience and what I've learned about physical health in conjunction with emotional health, like really shores that up, which I can share more about if you think
Sure.
people
Yeah,
hear about that. But
definitely.
yeah, when we are having chronic rage and anger that we're aware of because we're angry outwardly often and it's not getting resolved, or we're having, which was more the case for me, like a suppressed anger that I wasn't connected with. I wasn't like fully embodied in myself, which is also common for people with trauma and in general, right? Like we tend to disconnect from parts of ourselves.
Right.
That those neurochemicals and physical chemicals, hormones are still running. So like adrenaline, cortisol, and they can be chronically running through our system, which contributes to hypertension, right? Heart disease. We know these things for sure. There's some indication that contributes to cancer. It definitely contributes to inflammation. And again, not in a blaming way, because there's so many things that go into that. But
Right.
when you're trying to pull apart, how does this piece, right, rage and anger, contribute to physical illness? It definitely plays a role. And, over time, that accrues and collects. And autoimmune disease is when our bodies are attacking itself. And to me, rage turned inward is us attacking our own emotional system, attacking itself. So it's
Right.
very parallel. It's not hard to see that there'd be connection there.
Right. Yeah. I want to go back to where you said about apologizing.
Mm,
And that's a thing that I talk about a lot with women. We over apologize
mm.
when we don't do anything wrong.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm late. Well, you had 5 kids coming to you, or you had late traffic, whatever it was. It wasn't your fault, but
Right.
you still
Right.
apologize. So talk about that a little bit more with this rage. Is it because, oh, I just blew up? I'm so sorry. There's a reason you did that.
Absolutely. Yeah. We apologize automatically, first of all,
Oh,
often, right? We've been trained to do
right.
that for lots of reasons. And we're also then like prioritizing without realizing it, but everybody else's comfort. Like, oh, I made somebody else, my husband or my spouse or my kids or somebody else uncomfortable. I'm so sorry. And it's like, that's the most important thing is that I made somebody else uncomfortable or I caused some kind of tension instead of what caused me to feel this way or what's going on for me that I reacted that way. If I even reacted poorly, right? Like you said, a lot of times we're apologizing for nothing. Yeah. Again, I mean that in no way to blame me or other women. And I've been disturbed myself at how much I'm steeped in maybe feminine conditioning. It continues to be a unraveling for me because it's a disservice to me and to other
Right.
women. So, and that's one of those things, yeah, where it's about, we need to be calm. We need to be the bigger person. We need to be and all of that diminishes what is going on for us and allows
Yes.
other people to diminish it too, right? Like
Yes,
we're
exactly.
admitting by apologizing, we're admitting we did something wrong. So we're telling the other person we did something wrong when we may not have done anything wrong at all.
We didn't. Yeah.
And we need some attention, actually.
Exactly. And I think in midlife, this is the time when we learn to focus in on ourselves and find these things within us and pay attention to what we need. And I really think it takes courage to do that because, as we've said, we've been conditioned to make sure everyone else is okay. I'm sorry, even if it wasn't your fault. Are you finding that too with midlife women? Like a lot of them are starting to make that little turn? I'm
Yes.
helping them do that, I feel like.
Yes. Yes. I agree. Yes. Our time of life to be able to do that for lots of reasons. And the women I've talked to who are on maybe more on the other side of being in the depths of their rage or suppressing their rage and working through it, tell me they feel more whole and more authentic and more true to who they actually are. And that is, what hopefully this life stage is all about the opportunity we have to do that. And I feel too, rage is, we have these 7 emotional systems according to neuroscience, and one of them is a rage system. And underneath that is, it's an approach like anxiety and fear is a withdrawal emotion, right? Like we pull away.
Hmm.
Rage and anger are approach emotions, and we need those. We need to be having access those to have courage to approach scary, dangerous, difficult things that we might not otherwise do, right? So it
Right.
is very key in that way.
Yeah. I love that. That's a little light bulb just went off over my head.
Yay, great.
Yay. Yeah. Approach emotions. Yeah. That makes so much sense.
Mhm.
To me, like you have to. These are so strong that you have to. You have to
Yeah,
do
because
something.
otherwise it's dangerous and scary, and when we are becoming more whole and authentic, that does sometimes include having difficult conversations, making difficult changes, facing things that we didn't wanna face and nobody wants to have to in various ways, and that does take courage, and that does take, like, a fortitude and a access to I deserve something better. I deserve something more. I deserve not to be mistreated or overlooked or overlooking myself. I mean, that's all accessing that rage system. We have to generate that energy and emotion. That's what emotion is energy, right?
Yeah.
To be able to
Yeah.
like, I'm doing this, and I feel fierce and sure about it. Here I go, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is,
Oh, I love that. I got like a superwoman vibe there when you said that. Like
yeah.
I'm taking this and I'm going and I'm doing for me. And yeah, I love that.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
amazing. So, Jen, for the woman out there who's listening, who is probably experiencing some of this rage in whatever situation it is, what would you tell her first step would be? What should she do?
Yeah. I think one suggestion I have is on my website, I have a rage style quiz.
Mhm.
So you could jump on there and take it. It's 2 minutes or less. That helps women reflect on where are they at in how they express their rage. Are they a peacekeeper? Are they not really accessing their rage? Are they an exploder? Are they someone who's got a pretty healthy relationship with their rage? And in there is some information about how that might be affecting your body and some suggestions for where to go from there. So you can kind of get a baseline start about, and it's fun and interesting, So
Yeah.
that's one step that women can take. And you also then get on my email list. If you want to stay on there, you can unsubscribe otherwise, but stay up to date on my work. I send out email newsletters now and then, not very often, but with some practical tips and things like that. Yeah, so that's one direction. I would say talking about it, thinking about it, like reflecting, journaling is a great way to start to get in touch with even thinking about this topic.
Yeah.
Because now if you're a woman who's feeling a lot of rage and you're aware of it, you are thinking about it. But being
Yeah.
able to put it on paper and talk about it and not have to stuff it down, talk to your girlfriends about it, talk to a therapist about it, like start to move past any stigma or shame that you have about that. Like it's so normal and it's so honest and real. And it is a pathway to becoming your whole self at this stage of life, most authentic. And so those are a couple of ideas.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned it's their rage, like you're owning it. Like, yep, talk about your rage. It's just
Yeah.
there. That's a neutral way to say it, really. But
Yeah. And a lot of us are, and I've heard this as well, afraid of rage. It can be very fearful. Like, if I start to let myself feel that, what's going to happen? Like, am I going to burn my life down? Am I going to start exploding? So rage can be scary. And we have a lot of associations between rage and violence. So I do always like to make the point that those are two different things. Rage is, like you said, it's an emotion. It's a neutral emotion. It's really valid and really important. And it's been really tangled up with behavior and violence, which is how people express rage. And not even always. I mean, sometimes people are violent and they're not rageful at all. It's not coming from that place. Sometimes people are full of rage and they seem like the most pleasant, peaceful people you would never know. So you really can't, like starting to like separate what behavior is from what emotion is. That can help us be able to be more okay with our feelings. And if it's something that as a woman you feel really scared about, that's normal and that's okay. And, maybe talk to a therapist, right? Let's venture in those waters together. Because the other alternative is ignoring it and continuing to let that eat you up, right? And like cost
right.
you in ways that's not fair to you.
Yeah. And it's going to send you down a path of not being healthy. And so you're going to end up back here anyway at some point trying to figure it out.
Inevitably. Yeah.
Yeah. So take that step and deal with it, process it with
Yeah.
suggestions like you made for us. You mentioned a website. Do you want to tell us the name of your website so women can go
Sure.
to that?
Yep. It's JenGallagherCounseling.com. Pretty straightforward. Yeah. And I have Instagram that I don't post a lot on yet. So that is at Midlife Rage Therapy, which is kind
Okay.
of fun. So that's another way you can
I love that. At
follow.
Midlife Rage Therapy. I love it
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much. Do you see people one-on-one or in groups or both? Or how do you help?
Right now, I see people one on one.
Okay.
I do speaking engagements, things like that. And if you want to kind of follow along, there may be more opportunities down the road for
Okay.
different things. It might be groups, and I don't know what it's going to be. We'll see what happens. I know
See what happens.
there's a lot of benefit in being in community, right? So I
Uh-huh.
have my mind on like, how can we be in community as women around rage? What would that look like? But I haven't sorted out what that, how to
Yeah.
design it yet.
You could kind of have some fun with that. The rage circle or
Yeah.
raging against midlife or something.
Yeah.
some kind of creative, catchy little thing. So, Jen, this has been very enlightening for me. And I'm feeling like I'm normal on those days when I
Wonderful.
want to kill somebody.
Yes. You can just think about me and my road rage and go, oh, it's not so bad.
Oh, yes, yes. We've all been there too. But
Yeah.
yes, you're very calming now. So I think your rage is probably processed and taken care of, I think.
Yeah,
Feels like.
it's ongoing. I like to say I'm in relationship with my rage, right? That would be my hope for women, is not that we don't have the rage, but that we're in healthy relationship with it. That when it's getting stirred up, we can stop and go, there's something important happening here. Let me pay attention. Like what do I need? What do I need to do about that? Like being able to learn how, like all the other emotions, that is an aspect of who we are, and being able to be connected with that without being consumed or without being, cut off from. So I like to think I'm in healthy relationship with my rage, and like continuing, it's kind of a maintenance, continuing to stay on top
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah. I love that. It's like taking a pause if you're feeling this, whatever it is, rage, if taking a pause, oh, wait, what's going on there? I love
Yeah.
that. That's
Yeah,
so
there's something
important.
important happening here.
Yeah.
And with me, that I might need something that matters, and that's important. So let me pay attention to that. And then
Yeah.
ideally, right, be able to make conscious decisions about what I
Right.
do or don't do with those emotions and that information.
Yeah. It takes that blame and the big feelings about it. Just, okay, no, stop. Wait, what is
Yeah,
it? So I love
yeah.
that. Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
Yay.
You've hit so many great points here. I just love this. I'd like to keep going, but we do have to say goodbye. So
Sure. Yes.
before we do that, Jen, is there any one last little message you want to leave with our listeners?
Just that you are worth it, right? Like you are worth the time and attention in whatever way that you need. Yeah. Including what you feel. It's important and valuable.
Thank you so much, Jen. I really, really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. I enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for having me.
You are very welcome. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
You've been listening to Midlife with Courage. If you liked what you heard, I would love it if you would leave a review. Or even better, send a link of this episode to a friend who needs it. Until next time, take care of your beautiful self.